Now to India, where German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has begun a two-day trip. It's his first official visit to an Asian nation. Merz was welcomed by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the city of Ahmedabad in Modi's home state of Gujarat. There, the two leaders visited the former residence of India's independence hero, Mahatma Gandhi. They then held a press conference where they emphasized the growing economic ties between their countries. The German Chancellor is being accompanied by a large business delegation. Well, at their joint press conference, the Indian Prime Minister said Germany was India's most important trading partner in the European Union. He added that both leaders were looking to expand their economic and security ties.
The growing cooperation in defence and security is a symbol of our mutual trust and shared vision. I express my heartfelt gratitude to Chancellor Merz for simplifying the priorities related to defence and trade. We will work on a roadmap to increase cooperation between defence industries, which will open up new opportunities for co-development and co-production.
And our New Delhi Bureau Chief, Sandra Petersman, joins us now. Sandra, tell us more about the agreements reached between the Indian and German leaders.
Terry, in total, 19 documents were signed today, and in fact, the most important one is the one called Joint Declaration of Intent on Strengthening the Bilateral Defense and Industrial Production. It's a very long name. What does it mean? It means that both sides have agreed to intensify their military ties, to intensify the joint development and production of military hardware. And there's one very concrete example pending that is relating to submarines. Germany stands at the ready to build 6 submarines for India's Navy, and to do so in India, which of course comes with a component of technology transfer. This deal is very close to the finishing line, although not signed yet, and it stands at a worth of €8 billion, Terry. And then, of course, we also have other important things signed today that would aid Germany further. For instance, one declaration signed on skilled labor migration from India to Germany, and 2 more declarations that I found very important is one on working together on cooperation in the field of emerging critical technologies, read artificial intelligence, and also critical minerals, as both sides seek to diversify their supply chains in these fields, and they look at each other to do so, Terry.
So, Sandra, what does all this tell us about, what have we learned so far during all of this visit about the evolving relationship then between Germany and India? Because India also cooperates with Russia and China. The Chancellor's visit comes at a time of great geopolitical turmoil.
Well, Chancellor Merz made it very clear in his statement today that for Germany, India is a desired partner of choice. Merz pointed out shared fundamental political values and geopolitical interests, and spoke of the tremendous potential, economic potential, if both sides came together. And in extension, he was also there as a representative of the European Union. And there is the EU-India summit taking place on January 27th. And both sides are very likely to sign a bilateral trade agreement, 2 decades in the making. And the Chancellor, after the press statements in a separate conversation with a delegation of German journalists, pointed out that he is very sure that we will really see the signing of this free trade agreement between India and the European Union, which of course would give Germany and other EU states more access to the vast Indian market. India is the fastest growing big major economy of this world. And of course, from the Indian side, if you look at it, it means they get more access to technology transfer, especially when it comes to high-end technology, also in the defense sector. So that, I think, is to be seen in the light of the geopolitical turbulences caused by Donald Trump in the United States. Both India, Germany and the EU in extension have been at the receiving end of Trump's foreign policy decisions, be it India with the punitive tariffs, or be it Germany and other liberal European democracies when it comes to Trump criticizing the state of said liberal democracies, Terry. So the two of them are really looking at each other to close political and strategic gaps emerging because of the United States. And in that sense, I think Germany and most of the European countries are okay with India maintaining its strategic autonomy, which means also India's relationship with Russia.
Senator, thank you very much for those insights. That was our New Delhi Bureau Chief, Senator Petersman.
Let's bring in Ambika Vishwanath. She is a political analyst and a co-founder and director of the Kuber-9 Initiative, a geopolitical advisory firm, and she's joining us now from Melbourne in Australia. Welcome to the program, and thank you so much for joining us. How is India's growing global influence reshaping its economic and political ties with Germany?
Hi, good evening, and thank you for having me on this program all the way from Melbourne, Australia. I think there's two clear signals, right, as to how we, both in India but also in Germany, we're looking to reshape these ties. One, we've seen in the last few years from the German side, there has been more focus on looking at aspects that are beyond some of the very traditional areas of the relationship, whether we're looking at now at more a potential agreement on like defense cooperation, for example, whether we're looking at an increased relationship on trade, and the EU-India trade agreement hopefully should push some of that over the line, more tech transfer, more on green hydrogen and other aspects of climate. The very fact that Chancellor Merz is making this visit to India as his first stop in 2026 at a time when this year has begun with a whole lot of various kinds of disruptions that I think people didn't expect, some that were expected, is a very clear signal that both countries are really keen on moving beyond what we have considered the relationship to look like. As someone who's worked on this relationship for almost 15 years now in various capacities, I can say that in the last 3 to 4 years, we've seen this growing quite tremendously. And I think the fact that also that the Chancellor has gone to Gujarat and then will be going to Karnataka tomorrow signals an important message that, India is not just about what's coming out of New Delhi or Mumbai or some of the more typical areas of where you see this relationship growing, but it's also to look at India in a much more nuanced and holistic fashion. So I think these are really important, yeah.
So if you had to get a bit deeper there, what do you see India wanting from Germany?
Well, there's a whole list of things that India would say that it wants from Germany, but I would start by saying that India wants to be seen as a more of a partner than a recipient of this relationship. And I no doubt this has happened in the last few years. India wants to be a much seen on an equal footing. And we've seen that already, right? There are clear signals from both the previous administration in Germany and from this government that they view India as a more equal partner. And I have a number here. I mean, the former Chancellor Scholz visited 3 times, and he very clearly said a number of times that for India to be a partner on, whether it was emerging technology, for example, and I'll say defense again over here, whether it's on trade, it's not just about looking at India as a market, but also as a two-way street, right? And I think that is very important for India. It cannot just be that it's by the West for the rest, for example, right? So it has to be much more on a partnership level, whether we're talking about just the bilateral relationship or whether we're talking about a larger global architecture, whether it's about global cooperation, global trade, global governance order, whatever that might look like in the coming months and years to be. So for India, that's very important. And we've seen clear signals coming out of Berlin on that. but it can't just be at that highest political level. It has to trickle down as well. And we're seeing some of that trickling down, whether it's at the research level, R&D, whether it's at the university level, whether it's at, think tank to think tank level. There's a lot more collaboration on an equal footing. And that's definitely understood and is very much appreciated, I would say, on the Indian side as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Ambika Vishwananath, co-founder and director of geopolitical advisory firm Kuber 9 Initiative. Thank you so much.
Thank you.